start you off with an easy question. How did you both get into music?
Sure thing. Well, we're brothers, so um, I guess it kind of just started when we were pretty young. We talked about starting a band long, long, long ago. We were like the first conversation we can remember having about starting a band was when we were like 7 years old. So, but obviously we had no idea what that meant or anything. But down the line, always air guitaring, always singing to the radio and that kind of thing. And when we hit about Ryan was 13, I was 14 when we played our first show in Airdrie, our hometown. It was just a small half-hour set. It was all cover material, but we remember like yeah, it was within a couple songs on that stage the first time that we kind of played that event that we wanted to we knew that we wanted to take this as far as we could. We didn't know what that would take or what we had to do to get there, but um, we just kind of agreed that one step at a time, we just try to keep it going and see where we could get.
Yeah, there's always a love for music that I think was kind of deep rooted and ingrained in us from a very young age through our parents, because our parents were big music fans. So yeah, they just kind of instilled that in us right from a young age. And as soon as we had the opportunity to hit the stage, we were all for it. We just wanted to see what that would be like. So
Right. Um, so you mentioned your parents. Does anyone else have a musical background in your family?
Um,
uh, not like our parents didn't play really. Like mom took some piano lessons when she was a kid, kind of thing. But yeah, they didn't really play as they were growing up. But like I said, they always just really they never lost that passion for music, right? So
Okay.
um, yeah.
Right. That's cool. And what genre of music does the band fall under?
we fall under country. That said, we definitely do have a rock flavor to what we do. We a little bit more of a history, I guess, on us is we were a rock band for over 10 years prior to switching over to country. And the reason being our songwriting, like it's when we played live, it was very rock at the time, but our songwriting and the stories we have to tell from our lives and our perspective on life is very country. So that's why we made the jump over to country music. That's where our original material lies firmly in country music. We found our home. We're excited to be in the genre, and but yeah, we will. Our authentic sound does have an edge and a grit to it, because we also grew up listening to a lot of rock music, classic rock, heartland rock, arena rock. Um, and so, yeah, it's definitely a blend, but country music all the way.
Okay. And would you be preferred to call yourself a band, or would you consider yourself more of a duo? Like, do you have a preference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're definitely a duo. It's Ryan and I. It's always been Ryan and I from the start. Um, but how do I say? Like when you come see us live, it's always in a band format.
Okay.
We're steadily a four-piece band when you see us live. But yeah, we basically hire in our guys to join us on the stage and make some noise. But on the business side and as far as songwriting goes and us as artists, um, it's a duo, and don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, sometimes we'll do like acoustic things, like just the two of us or whatever. But yeah, we usually play as a four piece now, and we just have like sometimes it'll be different guys behind us, but it's always the two of us kind of up front. So
Okay. And how long have you been together? Because you said you did rock for like 10 years or something. So like in total years, how long have you been performing together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess I was 14, now I'm 29, so 15 years.
Okay.
It's pretty crazy. That's a long, I don't know, doesn't feel like 15 years, but
Hmm.
You'd think we'd be further by now. Oh well, no, yeah, 15 years of performing together with and being brothers. It's a special thing we don't take lightly. It's pretty rare to spend as much time with a human being as Ryan and I do, and have over the course of our entire lives. So it's a special thing for sure.
Right. And how did you choose the duo, the name? Right. I can kind of get an understanding and guess, but some artists, they like to go big and bold, and others, they do brothers at the end of it. So how did you come up with your name?
Ryan, you want to take that one?
It's yeah, as you probably noticed there, it is based on our last name. Our last name has like a kind of German flavor to it. So it's a little bit tricky to spell. We wanted something that was very authentic to who we are, and it's harder to get anything more authentic than your own last name, right? Especially being brothers. So we just kind of simplified the spelling a little bit, and yeah, so we came up with Flaysher, and we did talk about doing the brothers thing on the end there, but we just figured we'd keep it simple, and yeah, that's what we settled on.
I like it. It's more basic and authentic. It proves that you're not willing to like kind of sell out. You're true to yourselves.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. Yeah, that's kind of how we viewed it too. It's like, I don't know, it might be a weird word to say if because it's not actually a real word out in the world, but it's unique, and it's something that we get to define every single time we hit the stage, every time we have an interview, every time we write a song or release one. We get to change what that name means to some extent, or at least tweak it, and really just define it. So,
and I think it leaves something to be discovered too. Like when you find out we are brothers, it might be like, oh hey, that's kind of cool. Like it's something that it's a little bit of an Easter egg for someone to kind of find, right? So.
Right. And speaking of songwriting, do you write your own songs?
We sure do. Yeah, we write a lot. That said, we have released one song in the past that we weren't writers on. That one specifically was written by Tebe, who's making great things happen in the Canadian country scene. With also writers on it was Karen Kozowski and Emma Lee. But yeah, other than that one, every song that we've released in our past, even going as far back as our rock EP that we released in 2016, we are songwriters through and through, and we love sharing our stories. So yeah, and we normally write together too, Ryan and I. We might bring in other writers or write for their projects as well, but we're always writing together. Always, yeah.
That's good to hear. And how do you go about writing songs? Do you have a process or a system you do, or is it just whatever pops in your head and you just have to write it down?
Yeah, it's it's kind of like this elusive magic in the way that it's not always it's never always the same way. There are similarities for sure, but the commonalities, I guess, between songs is typically we will have like this shared document that any kind of idea that comes across our mind, be it a song title or just a concept or a double meaning of a word, or even sometimes you just there's like almost like several rhymes that just pop out all at once that sparks an idea. So we'll have a document that we share, and we kind of fill that out. And then when we have the moment to sit down, or we book the time to sit down and write a song, then we actually take a look through that document and go, okay, what are we feeling today? So in this document you'll have song lyrics or ideas that sway towards breakup, or sway towards a new love, or maybe it's just like some kind of passion or something about what you believe in. And depending on how you feel when you sit in the room with whoever you're sitting with, you'll look through this document and something will, like one of your past thoughts or Ryan or whoever that's in this document, you'll be like, okay, I'm feeling that today, and let's make it happen. So that's kind of the process, as well as obviously kind of playing the guitar and seeing what chords work with it, or sometimes you'll even just play a chord progression or a guitar part that kind of inspires you. So there's that too. Lots of voice memos on the phone and a lot of lyrics as well. So
it is really cool too to, like, as you're writing, to see a song kind of evolve. Sometimes it'll end up in a different place than kind of where you thought it was going to go. But again, that's kind of just part of the beauty, right? You can never fully predict what's going to happen when you're creating art like that, but part of what makes it cool.
Right. And if you suffer from writer's block on a song, how do you deal with that? Do you put it away? Do you just stay up all night trying to figure it out, or how do you go from there?
Yes and yes, both. Just depends. It'll happen, right? Especially if you're in a room with new co-writers, for example. Like we're headed to Nashville here again in just a couple weeks, and we're writing with a lot of new writers again. So sometimes sparks are just flying. It's almost like a date. sometimes it's just not flying the same way, and you gotta fight for those lyrics and really work hard at them. And yeah, I guess if you hit a block, usually it's good to take a little bit of a break, and that serves even not in songwriting. If you're beating your head against a wall, it's time to step away for even just a moment. Sometimes it can be just go make yourself some toast and come back. But yeah, no, it's yeah, and at the end of it, you suffer through some moments, and you worth it.
Okay, if you'd like to continue.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know if you missed much of what we said. I think Ryan finished by saying, what did you say, Ryan? What was the last thing you said?
Yeah, I don't know. There's 100 different ways you could do it. Yeah, it's that's all just part of the art, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And for each of you, do you have a specific role in the duo? Like, is one person more of a showstopper, or how do you guys do that?
Being working together as long as we have been, yeah, you do develop certain, yeah, you play a role in it. Yeah, there's typically Ryan, I would say, we've talked about this before. I'm sure he agrees. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but he's definitely the anchor to this thing in a lot of ways. And most of our conversations are me trying to pull us out of status quo, or pull us like new ideas, and like very, how do I say, like sometimes almost too visionary-ish. So a lot of bad ideas and some good ones. And Ryan's usually the one that's deciphering between which ones those ideas are, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. But another side of it, I guess, to get a little bit more specific for you, I don't know, Ryan will handle a little bit more of like we're both heavily involved in everything, but Ryan will kind of take the lead on some financial side of things for the business. I do a lot of designing, for example. I've designed our cover art in the past, most of our social media posts. So we definitely do have things that we take the lead on, but we by no means are siloed at all. We work very closely in all areas.
Right.
Yeah, it's important, like when you're working on a project that you started together and you've been working on together for so long, it's important to kind of make sure and constantly kind of be checking in and make sure you are on the same track, right? And making sure you're that no one's doing something that the other one wouldn't agree with or whatever, right? So yeah, like Brad said, you kind of fall into a groove, and yeah, that's kind of where we are now.
Cool. Cool. And what sets your band apart from other bands, or duo, I should say?
Um, other duos, I would have to say the fact that we're siblings. Obviously Reclaws come to mind right away in the country scene. They're siblings as well, Jenna and Stu. So, but I guess, yeah, that's one thing that I think stands out is the siblings aspect. And just in general, I think, there's a lot of people with some grit or a lot of artists with some grit in their tones for the country side of things. But there's different unique, like there's different unique qualities, I guess. And I think we have our own sound and our own little lane. And yeah, so I think there's just a uniqueness to it.
And to go along with that brother thing too, like one thing that kind of helps with is they call it blood harmonies. So when you kind of grow up together, like it's interesting how you kind of learn over the years, and because you're spending so much time together, to learn how to like meld your voices together, and kind of again, similar to what we were talking about before, where you kind of like you dial in and you kind of find where you each kind of do your best work, I guess. Kind of that works on stage as well, right? Like you just kind of start getting used to where things fit the best. And yeah, like we spend a lot of time dialing in those blood harmonies. So I think that that's another one of those things that kind of sets us apart.
Right. And do you like touring? Is that something that you love to do, or?
Yeah, we love sharing our songs live. I think when it really comes down to it, music, that's the whole reason us as human race is into music, is the connection that it brings us, and how fast it can make a stranger a friend. So, and we find that over and over and over again when we're playing live. It's crazy how fast you can make a connection to an absolute stranger and really feel like you have things in common. And so, yeah, that's what drives us to the live shows for sure. We've always been a live band, kind of a live energy. Yeah. So sharing our music with the audience is the whole reason we do this thing. We were influenced by a lot of musicians growing up, and that live atmosphere of going to the show and feeling like your heart's about to explode with how much excitement you have. And the dream is just to do that for other people. So.
Right. And on that type of level, what's it like to perform for you? Do you get nervous before you're performing, or as you're performing, or do you let the energy take over and just the adrenaline?
Yeah. Yeah. Performing is just it's like almost like a drug, really. Especially when you get into it. It takes some time to make the stage your home, but when it does start to feel comfortable, there's nothing better than that feeling. There really isn't. So yeah, like as far as nerves go, like If you're having an, how do I say, um, we're all human beings too. Sometimes there's nights where you're just like, um, maybe feeling like you're not as prepared. Like maybe there's something else in your life that took a bunch of time that week or the days prior to a show or something, and kind of throws you off a little bit. But um, so on those nights, it might take you a song or two to get into it. But really, for the most part, you're from the moment you strum a big, crazy, dirty chord, it gets you going. So
Okay.
Yeah, I do find like the biggest cure, I guess you could say, for stage fright and nervousness is preparation. Like if you've rehearsed what you're doing 1,000 times, if they're familiar songs, right? Like all that kind of helps kind of set you up for success on the stage, and just knowing that you have kind of done that homework, you can go in kind of just trust in yourself. But yeah, like Brad said, like stage is definitely our home, and it's a pretty great feeling when that happens.
Cool. And do you have a favorite song you wrote and sang and all that, or do you like them all?
every song has its own. It's almost like picking your favorite child if you were a parent. I think it's a struggle, or at least it should be. um, yeah.
I don't think our parents have that struggle.
How do I say? I think right now, "Good for You" is probably my favorite. I think it's the best we've done it. Really narrowing in. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it really. I'm just really proud of "Good for You" and the tones in it, and the songwriting in it, and the trajectory and the promise that that song shows for us. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Right.
Yeah, we have seen more commercial success with that one. It seems like every song we release kind of has done better, at least in some areas, than previous songs, which is a cool kind of trajectory to watch and be a part of. But one of mine actually from maybe just a few years ago is actually one called Ride. Um, I really like just like yeah, a lot of it comes down to the tones, the storytelling, and that was one of the songs that we kind of sat on for a little while, making sure it was exactly the way we wanted it to sound before we released it. So for me, it was just very rewarding to finally get that out there. But yeah, good for you. Obviously, is a huge one for us right now.
Okay. And do you have any interesting stories about your trips on the road?
Um, I don't know why this one comes to mind, but it'll at least serve the purpose. Um, we we were playing a small bar in Sundre, I think it was once, and
I don't even
we
know where
were
this is
and we
going.
were we were packing up and walking out the door with all of our equipment post 2 a.m. and one guy throws a punch at another guy right in front of us as we're hauling gear out, and like we don't have light gear either. It's like heavy stuff, and so we're like hauling out a rig, and this guy literally like knocks this other guy off a bar stool, and he's like rolling past us as we're hauling out equipment. And I don't know why that one came to mind, but
I, I
you
I
get
can
all
add to that
sorts.
one. I can add to that one. First of all, it was a town called Carbon, which has
Oh,
like 400 people in the whole town. Anyway, and the same guy that that got throttled and flew off the bar stool ended up picking a fight with our drummer like half an hour later. And we're like, dude, haven't you had enough tonight? Like, just go home.
That
yeah.
sounds awesome.
Some good
I
times.
believe it, the words were, "You are the worst drummer in the world." Like, all right, okay. Yeah, there's just people you meet and you just kind of shake your head. But
Yeah,
Right.
some good time.
And how would you describe your personalities of yourselves?
mm, hmm um, Passionate. That's mine. Like if I could sum up my entire spirit in one word, I would say passionate.
Yeah, I sometimes it seems like I I struggle with it, but for the most part, I would say I tend um to kind of stay focused on what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like when I get dialed in, I just want to see it through. Like I have a really hard time just kind of moving on to something else before something is complete. You know what I mean?
Okay.
The opposite of ADHD. That's Ryan.
Well, that's funny because I think every artist has a little bit of ADHD, but like I said, sometimes I just have like the desire to just see something through to completion, kind of just over, like, kind of outdoes that kind of artist ADD thing going
Nice.
on.
Right.
Fair.
That makes sense, and it's kind of interesting how the two of you play off each other in that sense.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Yeah, you kind of are the yin and the yang. Like you fill in the space that the other person requires, essentially.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And would you say you have any idols that you attribute to your music success, or anyone that that you strive and follow for or with?
Yeah. For myself, John Bon Jovi for a lot of reasons. Who else? Dirk Bentley.
Yeah, Dirks is a big one for me. As far as like even just musical influence, and like Brad said, a lot of different reasons, right? But
yeah, so I guess those are two that really come to mind right away.
Dallas Smith for Canadian. Dallas Smith seems like a great dude.
Gotcha. Those are good answers.
Yes, sir. Hey, Dylan, just a heads up. We're gonna have to hop into another meeting here in a couple minutes, but maybe like one more, if that works.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool.
Lastly, is there anyone you'd like to shout out or promote or anything like that while the floor is yours for this little bit here?
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that. Yeah. We love our hometown. Got a lot of great stuff happening in Airdrie. So that's one shout out I'd like to kind of throw out there. But even just in general, like we're very passionate about where we're from. So be it Airdrie, Alberta, Canada. Yeah, that's our main thing, is trying to really represent our family and friends from our home, and spread the word of amazingness.
And one thing I'd just like to throw in there too is just as we wrap up here, like if anyone wants to follow us like on social media or Spotify or whatever, we have a really exciting year coming up here, very busy for shows and all that kind of stuff. And we'll actually be playing the main stage of Country Thunder this year in Alberta. So yeah, we're super excited for that. And want to make people aware.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the both of you for letting me interview you, and I can't wait to see what you have in the upcoming future, and hopefully I can get to come and see one of your shows.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know if you're gonna kind of be in the area.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And if you're ever in Leduc or Edmonton, let me know, and I'll try to make any of the shows or anything you got going on over there.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, you bet. You too. See you, man.
Good. Bye.